Mrs. Finney disappeared again and returned with a bowl of dried up muesli and a bottle of milk. For dinner? Phoebe asked. She gazed down at the bowl. I usually eat it with yogurt, not milk, she said. Mrs. Finney turned to Mr. Finney. Dear, she asked, did you buy yogurt this week? Gosh, no, I must have forgotten. Blast it, how could I forget the yogurt? Phoebe ate her dried up muesli without milk. All through dinner, I kept thinking of Buy Banks and what it was like when we went to my grandparents' house for dinner. There were always tons of people, relatives and neighbors, and lots of confusion. It was a friendly sort of confusion, and it was like that at the Finneys. Tommy spilled 2 glasses of milk, Dennis punched Dougie, and Dougie punched him back. Maggie socked Mary Lou, and Mary Lou flipped a bean at her. Maybe this is what my mother had wanted, I thought. A house full of children and confusion. Phoebe was in a strange mood. She told Dennis that he should say yes, not yuh, and she mentioned to Dougie that it was not polite to talk with his mouth full, and she suggested that Tommy should try eating with his fork instead of his fingers. On the way home, I said, didn't everyone seem unusually quiet after dinner? Phoebe said it was probably because of all that cholesterol sitting heavily on their stomachs. I asked Phoebe if she wanted to spend the weekend at my house. I'm not sure why I did this. It was an impulse. I had not yet invited anyone to my house. She said, I guess. That is, if your mother is still. She coughed. Let's go in and ask my dad. In the kitchen, her father was washing the dishes. Phoebe seemed surprised. He was wearing a frilly apron over his white shirt and tie. You're supposed to rinse the soap off, Phoebe said. And is that cold water you're using? You're supposed to use really, really hot water to kill the germs. He didn't look at Phoebe. I thought maybe he was embarrassed to be caught doing the dishes. You've probably washed that plate enough, Phoebe said. He had been rubbing it around and around and around with the dishcloth. He stopped and stared at the plate. I could practically see the birds of sadness pecking at his head. But Phoebe was busy swatting at her own birds. Did you call all of Mom's friends? Phoebe asked. Phoebe, he said, I'm looking into it. I'm a little tired. Do you mind if we don't discuss this now? But don't you think we should call the police? Phoebe. Sal wants to know if I can spend the weekend at her house. Of course, he said. But what if Mom comes back while I'm at Sal's? Will you call me? Will you let me know? Of course. Or what if the telephones or what if she telephones? I won't be able to talk with her. Maybe I should stay home. I think I should be here if she telephones. If she telephones, I'll have her call you at Sal's, he said. But if we don't have any news by tomorrow, Phoebe said, we should definitely call the police. I think we have waited too long already. What if she is tied up somewhere and waiting for us to rescue her? At home that night, I was working on my mythology report when Phoebe called. She was whispering. She said that when she went downstairs to say goodnight to her father, he was sitting in his favorite chair staring at the television, but the television wasn't on. He was rubbing at his eyes. If she did not know her father better, she would have thought he had been crying. But my father never cries, she said.